Hey, it's your girl Laura Renee. Welcome back to my channel. This is a space where I like to talk about all things faith, femininity, personal development, lifestyle, and sometimes a little bit of social commentary. If any of these topics interest you, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I kind of wanted to talk about shifting our perspective to see God as more of a lover and not as just a father, a provider, somebody who is, has authority over us, but as somebody who is genuinely in love with us and in love with our journeys, in love with who we're meant to become, and in love with us as who we are now, right? So I got baptized almost a year ago. Literally a couple weeks will make a year since I made that decision. And honestly, God has been a part of my life since I was young. Like, I grew up in the church. I was spiritual most of my life. Like, him being in my life is not what changed when I got baptized. But I would say one thing that shifted the most was that I began to see my relationship with him as a lot more personal, as a lot closer, and I began to look at it as more of a marriage. And so one thing that also changed was the way that I started reading the Bible once I started seeing God as a lover and not just as a father. Once you start reading the Bible as a love story, or as the love story that it truly is, and you read it not to just, okay, I'm going to turn to Job chapter 5 and I need wisdom. I need God to tell me what to do. So I'm just going to flip open my Bible and I'm going to find some advice, or I'm going to find some I feel like the primary reason we should be reading the Bible is to understand God's heart and to understand exactly who he is and look at his character, the consistency of his character, and more so open it and read it and be like, okay, what does this tell me about God? What does this tell me about the God that I love? What does this say about the God that loves me? And so that's one thing that began to shift. And one thing about the Bible you'll see when you really take a step back is that it's a book about creation, redemption, imperfection, reconciliation, forgiveness, love. Like, there are some really big underlying things in the Bible that I feel like we miss when we just read it for instruction and not just read it to understand, and read it to understand the heart of the person who inspired it to begin with. And one thing that prompted me to record this video is that I decided to open up a book and read a book that I never ever thought about opening before, ever. It's a book that I always flipped over, skipped through, like never ever thought to just open it and truly read it. And it was the book of Hosea. And so I also kind of want to give a mini recap of the first couple chapters of Hosea that I've read so far. And honestly, like, something told me, like, Laura, let's just pick up Hosea. Like, let's just see what it's about, girl. Like, let's just see what Hosea's talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I never thought that I would open it and read something and feel something so profound when I opened it to take a look at it. So yeah, that's what inspired me to make this video. And so I want to talk about what I have noticed in my life once my perspective of God started to shift from not simply my father, but somebody who loves me, somebody who's truly in love with me, is that I started to depend on him more. One thing about me is that, and I'm sure a lot of women in modern day society can relate to, is that we get trapped in a cycle of independence a lot, especially as young adults. We live in a society where women chase careers, women chase purpose, women do lots of different things. And so I feel like it's very easy to get caught up in that cycle of independence, and I know I did. I've pretty much been on my own since I was 18 years old. I moved to a different city. I moved away to go to college, and I've also been working and providing on my own as well. And so sometimes it gets very, very hard for me to take a step back and realize, like, Laura, you are not the only source behind your life. Like, it may seem like you're doing it all on your own, but truly you're not. And one thing that God allowed me to do a few months ago is he allowed me to start slowing down, working less. And I was able to truly start seeing that, I want to depend on you first for everything, and myself immediately second. Another thing is that once you see God as somebody who is truly in love with you, you start to seek his opinion in everything that you do. Kind of like how you would do if you were in a relationship, or if you were married to somebody. You wouldn't make big decisions without running it by your man. Like, you will want, hey, babe, I'm going to do this. Like, how do you feel about this? Do you think it's a good decision? Do you think it's a good investment? How do you feel? And one thing is that when you see your relationship as intimate, you learn to bring everything back to him. Like, not little stuff. Like, hey, I want to get my hair dyed, or I want to get my nails done. What do I do? Like, not baby stuff like that, but big decisions. I want to move to this city, God. What do you think? Or, God, I'm not feeling this friendship. I feel like I should let it go. What do you think? Or, I'm thinking about this career, God. What do you think? You start to seek his opinion on every big decision in your life. When you start to see God as somebody who truly loves you, is that you start to rely on his perspective of you and his love for you more than the world around you. And so what this does is this builds your confidence. This makes you feel like, I have somebody in my life who reminds me how loved I am every day, who reminds me how perfect I am every day, who reminds me how beautiful I am every day. Like, even on the days where you feel low of yourself, even on the days where you're not feeling it, it's like you get that reminder. The Holy Spirit just kind of reminds you, like, no, girl, you're beautiful, you're loved, you're whole, you're complete exactly as who you are and where you are. And so what the world thinks of you starts to matter a lot less, because you understand that the person who loves me the most in this world tells me that I am fearfully and wonderfully created. And so how dare I think less of myself? And so you start to lean more on his perspective of you rather than the world's. And it kind of gives you that boost, that confidence, that gives you the ability to believe in yourself, believe in your journey, and believe in exactly who you're meant to be. Another thing that shifts is that you start to trust him more and trust him enough to be vulnerable with him. One thing is that before, I would say, like, years ago when I would pray, like, my prayers would simply be like, y'all know Matthew, the prayer in Matthew 6. Like, I'm sure everybody out there knows the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Like, my prayers used to be very much ABC 1, 2, 3. Like, I am just telling him exactly what I feel like he wants to hear from me. And one thing that shifted once I started seeing him as somebody that loves me and somebody who's in love with me is that I've been talking to him way more candidly. Like, I have learned how to truly be vulnerable with God and literally stand on it. You begin to tell him your fears, your vulnerabilities, your secrets. You start talking to him like you're talking to an old friend. Like, hey, God, I'm dealing with this. I don't know what is going on. Or, hey, God, this person just pissed me off. I don't know what to do about it. Or your language becomes a lot more free flow. It becomes a lot more vulnerable. Your prayers are not just requests or Thanksgiving. It starts to become more conversational. And once you become more conversational with him, he becomes more conversational with you. Out of nowhere, you'll just start hearing responses in your head to questions that you done asked the day before, a couple days before. Like, or once you start questioning things about yourself, you let it be known to him and he starts giving you reassurance. And so your language towards him changes. You start to see him as more of a friend, you start to see him as somebody who is truly intimate in your life. There are so many things that come when you shift your perspective to understand that he loves you and he sees you and he knows you and he understands you and he considers you. And the whole entire story of the Bible, the whole entire point of salvation is about how much he loves us and considered us, even in our imperfections. He considered us so much, he came up with the whole entire plan to save our souls because he knew we wouldn't be able to do it on our own. And when you start to see God as somebody who truly sees you in your wholeness, in your entirety, he sees your past, he sees your future, he sees your present, he sees everything you're struggling with, he sees everything that you're dealing with, you start to seek him a little bit different and truly learn how to open up your heart and let him into all of the parts of your heart that you were scared to let him into before. And so the overall vibe of Hosea in the first couple chapters is that the story introduces this prophet. His name is Hosea, and God assigns him to marry a prostitute and have children with her. And the names for the children that God tells him to name his kids are names that means you're not loved, names that mean you are not my people. And essentially what he does is that he tells Hosea, like, listen, you're going to marry this prostitute. Her name is going to be Gomer. This is going to be your life together. And I am going to use your marriage to be a direct analogy and metaphor for my relationship with the Israelites, who are my people, but they don't act like they're my people. It's crazy. And so the story introduces that. The story introduces Hosea and his marriage and his children and what God plans to do. And immediately into the next chapter, it gets into a whole lot of Okay, basically in the next chapter is where God basically introduces all of the grievances that he has with the Israelites. And he goes down the list. He's like, my people are, my people are praising idols. My people are dealing in prostitution. My people are dealing with adultery. Amongst these themes, there's an underlying tone in this story that really made me kind of sit with myself and be like, dang, like, he feels really strongly about these people. And it wasn't until I sat and really read through the lines of the verbiage that God was using and I really understood, like, no, this isn't just, he's not mad. This is passion. This is passionate anger. This is real hardcore, like, if my man did me dirty, this is exactly how I'd be talking to him kind of thing. And the anger that God basically expressed towards his people was very, very strong and very, very intimate because he truly expected more of them. And so an example of this passionate anger can be found in chapter 2, verses 7 through 13, where basically he says, she will chase after her lovers, but not catch them. She will look for them and not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my husband as at first, for then I was better off than now. She has not acknowledged that I was the one who gave her the grain, the new wine and oil, who lavished on her the silver and gold, which they use for Baal. Baal is like he's an idol. He's an alternate god that they like to worship. Therefore, I will take away my grain when it ripens and my new wine when it is ready. I will take back my wool and my linen intended to cover her naked body. So now I will expose her lewdness before the eyes of her lovers. No one will take her out of my hands. I will stop all of her celebrations, her yearly festivals, her new moons, her Sabbath days, all her appointed festivals. I will ruin her vines and her fig trees, which she said were her pay from her lovers. I will make them a thicket, and wild animals will devour them. I will punish her for the days she burned incense to the Baals. She decked herself with rings and jewelry and went after her lovers, but me she forgot, declares the Lord. As you can see, like, the language that he's being used, so what he's describing is that I gave her wine, I gave her oil, I gave her jewelry, I gave her gold, I decked her out in the finest silver, and you gonna take what I gave you and give that to the next God? Like, how dare you? How dare you? And I read through this as passionate anger. Like, God feels truly betrayed in this moment because you are giving what I gave to you. You're giving to another lover. You're giving another lover credit for stuff that I blessed you with, stuff that I gave to you. Like, that's crazy. And so when he goes into saying, like, that's okay, because guess what? I'm going to take it away. I'm going to rip down her fig trees. I'm going to expose her. She's going to be looking stupid in front of the very same people she tried to embarrass me in front of. And so to me, like, you know how they say God is a jealous God? I feel like that level of jealousy and passion, like, I can't even bother to see you worshiping another God. I can't even bother to see you happy-go-lucky celebrated with another person, with another man, with another God. Like, how dare you, create all these other idols when I love you the way that I love you? How dare you forget me? How dare you forget to acknowledge me and all the love that I have for you? When I was reading at first glance, like, before I went further, I was like, ooh, like, I knew God could get a little spicy, but this was like a whole nother level of like, okay, I'm like, okay, let me keep following because he is pissed. But also in the next few verses, this is going to be 14 through 16, he does say this. He says, therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards and will make the valley of Acre a door of hope. There she will respond as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. In that day, declares the Lord, you will call me my husband. You will no longer call me my master. And so I just wanted to recap those few verses to kind of paint a picture of the relationship that God has with his people, that God describes having with his people, even though he listed all these charges against him. And in the next few chapters, he goes more into, the indictment of prostitution and adultery, which to God, adultery is worshiping other idols, stepping outside of our relationship to worship other people, God gives us things and people to appreciate, but God doesn't give us things or people to, idolize or, put on pedestals. One thing that he's very passionate about in this is that, I have no shame blessing the people I love. I have no shame like decking you out in the finest and, you know, giving you fine wine and giving you all type of material stuff. Like, I have no problem blessing you, but I don't want you to take those blessings and make them idols, and even worse, use those to worship other idols. But one thing he promises immediately in this entire story is that as much as I want to crash out on my people for doing me dirty like this, I will also take them into a private space. I will sit down, have a conversation, sit down, have a revelation, and they will no longer call me their master. They are no longer going to call me the provider, the authoritarian, the God that I must listen to, the God that I must stay obedient to no matter what. They are going to start to see me as their husband, their lover, somebody who loves them. And when you love somebody, you don't do right by them out of obligation. You do right by them because you choose to. You do right by them because you want to. And that is the perspective that God wants to shift our hearts from, is like, I got to do right by God because I have to. I got to do right by him because if I don't, he's going to send me to hell. And if I don't do right by him, he's going to, you know what I mean? He's going to take away this and he's going to punish me. It's not about the God that punishes. It's about loving him so much that you wouldn't want to be anywhere else. You'd rather be here. You'd rather be in this relationship. You'd rather be sitting here face to face with God no matter what comes with the journey. You'd rather be here. You wouldn't rather be anybody else. If you've never read this story before, I do advise you go read it again, and then read it a third time. Not to just understand it in biblical terms. So if you have to use an alternate version other than King James, I don't read in King James. I don't understand King James. Like firsthand, that's not the language that I talk in or understand things in, so I don't read it. I like NIV. I like the Message sometimes, but the Message is good for paraphrasing. It's not really good for like studying. I also like ESV. But one thing that I will say in this story that really stuck out to me is that God's love for us is personal, it's deep, it's passionate, and he loves us like a husband would love his wife. I don't want you worshiping nobody else. I don't want you looking at no other man. I don't want you stepping outside of our marriage. He loves us like a husband loves us, and he wants us to look at him in that way. And bigger than that, he wants our love to be reciprocated. He doesn't want us to just obey blindly. He wants us to listen. He wants us to understand where he's coming from when he tells us to do certain things. He wants us to understand his heart. And one thing that I hear him really loudly in this chapter is just how much he really wants us to understand his heart, and understand his heart for us, and understand that he truly doesn't just love us, he's in love with us. And he wants our heart just as much as he wants to give us his. I encourage anyone watching this or listening to this to shift your perspective to understand God as a lover. And to all my women out there, all my ladies out there, start to see God as your husband, especially if you're in a single season. This is the perfect time to start doing that. Start to see yourself as his wife, as his lover, and ask yourself, am I serving God because I'm afraid of him? Because the true fear and awe of God is rooted in respect. It's not rooted in being scared of him. But the one thing you should be scared of is a life without his love, a life without his presence, not a life without his blessings, not a life without his hand, but a life without God's presence is a life that I am truly scared of. And I don't care what kind of obstacles or challenges that I got to deal with in this current life, I'm going to take it to the chin. Because whatever comes with this life that is designed by the person that I love, I'm going to have to sit with it. I'm going to have to lean into it, and I'm going to have to deal with it. And there's this song by G Herbo that I truly, truly love. It's called I Want It. And I don't cuss, so I ain't gonna say all the lyrics, but one thing he says in the song is he says, whatever comes with it, I want it. If it come with FNs, I want it. Like, whatever come with it, I want it. And whenever I hear that song, like, I think of, my life and also my relationship with God. Like, God, whatever come with this life, I want it. Whatever obstacles or challenges that come along the way, I want it. As long as I got this life with you in it, and as long as I got this life with you leading it, then I want it. And so, yeah, y'all, this video turned out to be a little longer than what I wanted it to be, but that's okay. I just feel like this needed to be said because a lot of people don't look at God as somebody that they love. They look at him as somebody they're scared of, or they look at him as somebody who's just there to bless them or provide for them. And, God don't got to do nothing to be loved by you. Just because of who he is, You should just love God because of who he is, not because of what he does or what he has done, but simply because of who he is. And so that's definitely something that I've been trying to do more of as I grow in my faith, as I read more of his word, just to read it to learn exactly who he is. So if you're still watching, thank you for your support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave me some feedback. How do you guys see your relationship with God? How do y'all see God in your relationship with him? Is he simply a father to you? Why is that? Do you love him? Why is that? So I would love for us to start having more conversations in the comments. So yeah, let your girl know. And I will see y'all on the next one.